Today I've come to pay my respects to a fallen Runza here at 56th and Highway 2 in South Lincoln. For 24 years, this business served the community with Runzas and burgers and fries and wimpy side salads. At least I can assume they were wimpy side salads. But I will never, ever get that opportunity to try them, for it is now closed. So instead of a typical Runza review, I have put this video together to showcase my deepest respect for this fallen Runza. Well, I understand that the news of a closure of a Runza might be hard for you, and if you need to take this moment to just, process what has gone on, I completely understand. But that being said, you do take heart in the fact that there are still plenty of great businesses throughout Lincoln and really throughout the state of Nebraska, and one of them is Goldenrod Pastries, and they just recently reopened after the pandemic, so I spoke with owner Angela Garbacz to learn a little bit more about what it's like owning a small business in Lincoln during a pandemic.
Goldenrod's been open for 5 years. I'm really proud that we've been able to survive this so far. I came out with my first cookbook. It released on April 28th during the pandemic. So not only during this time period were we trying to reinvent the business pretty much every week, it was also a massive book launch. And I think what's been really cool to see through Goldenrod and also businesses as a whole is just business owners thinking on their feet and coming up with new ways of doing things. And it's been really cool to see. I always like to be optimistic, so I have to say that's been a really cool thing to see, and I'm optimistic about the future of Goldenrod. So we shut down both stores on March 24th, and we shut it down to walk-in business. We had at that point just been doing takeout only, and then we shut down fully. And I kept one store operating with very few people, about 5 people, and we were just doing online orders. So we were shipping cookies, selling our branded merchandise, and doing pre-order pickup boxes, and that went on for about 2 months. And then we reopened both of the stores for just, you could pre-order and then we would meet you outside, no customers inside. And at this point now, about 3 months later, we are allowing customers back in. Obviously everybody's wearing masks, employees and customers. We have plexiglass partitions set up to keep our staff and our customers safe. Definitely not more business, but we were able to get creative with our online platform, but we still saw probably a drop of 80% in profits. And so it's huge, we were able to get the PPP loan, but that's really only helpful so far. So definitely needed more, and the restrictions that the government put on that loan to begin with were that it had to be all spent within 8-week period or 9-week period. And so that meant that I got all this money, and it's it's such a great thing because you're oh, I don't have to pay my payroll, this is gonna be great, but you're expected to bring back a certain number of people. So hindsight, well, now they've changed the rules, so you have 24 weeks to spend that money instead. If I had had 24 weeks, I would have waited to bring my staff back until it was a little bit safer and we could actually open to make more money, whereas we weren't really able to make very much money in that 8-week period. I think it was just a good way for the government to, and this is my own opinion, for the government to kind of ease up on unemployment. Under normal circumstances, the biggest challenge is, I've been very lucky. My business has always been successful. I've always have had customers and great staff. And the most challenging things are just making sure I have everything I need and making sure that my staff is really well trained. That's normal. Under COVID times, supply chain, making sure that I have money to pay my staff, that I've never been so careful about money in my life. We're having to make some really tough decisions. I am always happy to work at my store, but I always try to give those hours to my staff, and now I'm working more and not able to give as many hours to my staff. So it's night and day difference. There's nothing I don't love about my business. I love my customers, I love my staff. I love that I get to come to work, and the one thing that I love to do is bake and make food and feed people. And I love that. A lot of people say that when you have your own business, you can be really autonomous and live life by your own rules. Well, no, you're actually living your life by the rules of your customers, the general public, and your staff. But what I love about my job is getting to do what I love. We need to see money going directly to businesses in the form of grants or forgivable loans. We need to see that money without restrictions. So, with the PPP loan, 75% of that money had to be spent on payroll, and the rest could be used on utilities and rent, and that's great. But what costs the most to reopen a business like mine is supplies. So I don't really think that it's up to the government necessarily to tell me how I'm spending my money. They just need to trust that, I need to keep paying my staff. I need to keep my business functioning for the greater economic system of Lincoln and the state of Nebraska. And we need to have those grants and those forgivable loans for people to use at their discretion.
Well, thanks for watching this episode, and join me next time as I travel to the West O Runza and talk with the GM of the Lincoln Salt Dogs minor league baseball team. Thanks for watching.